Welcome to Healthy Living, brought to you by St. Tammany Parish Hospital. I'm your host, Amanda Paxton. It's a new year, which means for many people it's time to make some lifestyle changes and start getting healthy. According to studies, only 40% of people actually stick to their New Year's resolutions, and of those who quit, most quit within 1 week. So starting new healthy lifestyle changes can be very difficult for many people. Today we have two guests here to discuss health and nutrition and ways you can stick to your New Year's resolutions and get healthy. Our first guest is Terry Compton, the St. Tammany Parish Hospital Diabetes Education Program Manager. Welcome, Terry.
Hi, Amanda.
The first question I have is about temptations. We are bombarded with food commercials, and there'll be leftover holiday treats and different things. What are some ways people can avoid temptations?
Well, it's the natural thing is to want to celebrate with friends and family and to always go to the events. So some tips just to kind of get you back on board so that you don't overindulge is to kind of think about what you're going to be doing that day. If it's going to be a mid-meal or it's out of your ordinary routine, you may want to eat something prior to going, so that'll kind of limit so that you're not actually eating extra food when you actually arrive at the event. Maybe pick a smaller plate, look at what's on the table first before you select, and then pick more healthy choices that are available, so that way you're likely to fill up on those food items before you try the high fat, maybe high caloric foods and beverages.
Okay, so when you say look at the table, you mean don't just go down the line and fill up your plate with everything?
Right. So that way you can kind of peruse and see what's available that's there. So if there's a vegetable tray or fresh fruit or things that are more like meats that are maybe lean meats and with light sandwiches, that may be more appropriate than going for the heavy dips and the chips and the heavy hors d'oeuvres that may be there.
Okay. What do you suggest for setting goals, whether it's in the new year or just in general when you're setting healthy lifestyle goals or trying to lose weight and things like that?
The hard part about people wanting to lose weight is they want to do it in a week. And as you mentioned, they start out and it's very difficult because it's a commitment to a behavioral change. And that's what we look at with people with diabetes, and is that anyone that wants to make changes is that it has to be a measurable change. So set something that's very realistic. So you have to look at the opportunity to do that. So let's say you want to increase walking. Well, walking by itself will help you lose weight, but you have to decide how long you're going to do that and how often. So if you feel like you can't go run that marathon or commit to an hour of activity, think about it in small increments, saying that I can do 10 minutes of walking 3 times a week. Ultimately, what we would like to do is increase activity so that you're doing something 150 minutes a week. So if you start out small, then you can always increase it. It takes about a month for that behavior to become an activity that you're going to do on and on and on. So that 1 week goal, you just don't wash out and say, this is just too much work.
So if you find if people set smaller goals and then work up to the bigger ones, it's a lot easier for them to stick to it?
Absolutely. And then that way they can have, they can see if it's realistic and if it works for them. So let's say they've been working 10 minutes a day or 10 minutes 3 times a week, then maybe they can add 5 more minutes. So that would be 15 minutes 3 times a week. And then ultimately when they're looking at getting up to the 150 minutes, it doesn't seem so insurmountable.
Okay. I know a big problem we have now is portion control. So many restaurants, I know every time I go to a new restaurant there, the sizes seem bigger, the amount of sides you get is more, the drinks are bigger. Can you give us some information about proper portion sizes and how to achieve good portion control?
Well, when you look at a menu, menus now are trying to be more heart healthy. They have symbols so that you can have that as the lighter side, or a menu that's a little bit lower in calories. With those choices, even then, share an entree with another person. Even if you have 1 entree between 2 and then have a side salad, certainly that would be more appropriate. So most restaurants, the portions can feed at least 2 to 3 people. And we don't realize that when we take it home, that we're feeding more than 1 person at that meal.
Wow, okay. Can you give us some examples of what proper portions could be? Because I know for people at home, you might think it should be a lot more than it should just because of what we see out.
Well, that's true. We give some estimates when we first start talking to people about portion sizes. So when we're thinking of a portion of meat, about the size of a deck of cards or the palm of your hand. So if you're looking at the palm of your hand, that's about a 3 to 4 ounce serving size. So when we really think of a chicken breast that may get served to us, it's probably the whole size of our hand, which is actually 2 servings. So when we think about that, any portion that you made, most likely if you cut it in half, then that would be more appropriate. In terms of like pasta, potatoes, a half of a cup is usually what we consider to be a portion size, and that would be about the size of your fist. So if you're looking at that on a plate, that's not very much food when you're really thinking about that, but usually what gets served is twice that amount at least. So again, it's just looking at that amount. Always put your salad dressing on the side, because certainly then you're in control of how much dressing you may put on a salad, and usually the amount of salad dressing is about the size of your thumb, so that's really not a lot of dressing. And most likely where we get the calories from our salad, if we choose that to be a healthy choice, is because of our salad dressing, which may be high in fat.
Okay. What about fruits and vegetables? I assume those are a lot bigger portion sizes.
Well, a half a cup of fruit, or a small orange or apple, or half of banana is considered usually a portion of fruit. If you have like strawberries, it's about a cup. And what you want to do is, when you look at your plate, you want half of your plate to be with vegetables and with fruit, and then a portion of the other quarter of the plate should be a grain or pasta, and then the other quarter should be a protein of some sort. So that what you're looking at is you're looking at a plate that's got more healthier choices than using all the starchy vegetable, and or the starchy carbohydrates too.
Okay, and are there certain meats or proteins that you would recommend over others? I've heard that beef isn't great to eat often and that type of thing.
Well, in general, the leaner the meat, the more less fat it's going to have. So again, it's just the amount. So whether it's fish, chicken, pork, beef, or lamb, it's about 3 to 4 ounces is about a serving size. So you have to think about that in general. And again, when we put it actually on our plate, it's much smaller than we realistically view when we normally eat food.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about diabetes, and more specifically about how people should manage diabetes, or people who are just finding out they have it, how they can go about starting those lifestyle changes?
The unfortunate thing about when someone hears the word diabetes, it is overwhelming. It's almost like they're in a fog a lot of times, and there's a little bit of sense of denial in the beginning that wow, is this something really happening to me, or what is the impact it's going to have on my life? The unfortunate part about diabetes is that the high glucose that is in the bloodstream for long periods of time causes a lot more damage to our other organs, and many people end up having complications. But people can have diabetes for 10 to 15 years and not be diagnosed, and until they may have surgery or go in for another medical problem that it surfaces. So when someone first hears the word diabetes, it is overwhelming, because it is a lot that they have to learn, not just about the disease itself, but how to manage it. And that's what we do with diabetes education, is give them the tools so that they can do the self-management. So they're learning about medications that may be prescribed, about how to change some food habits or food changes, and learning how to incorporate good nutrition in terms of just daily eating, and then monitoring, because they're going to have to be testing their blood glucose often. Those numbers that they test do have meaning, and so the goals are important for them to understand about where those blood sugar ranges should be.
Okay, and what's the first thing you tell somebody that finds out they have diabetes?
They're not alone, and we're here to help them. And so we want to offer that support to them. We want to include other family, spouses, whoever's there, because we realize that when people have support, they do much better in managing their diabetes. Because you hate to be on an island by yourself and not have other people to really understand what you're going through, especially when they're first diagnosed. Many times their first questions do relate to food, because now they think of like, what can I eat? It's not that they can't eat, it's just, again, looking at healthier food choices, but also the portions. And then coming with a realistic amount of calories in a given day in relation to be able to manage those blood sugars as the blood sugars rise with food. So it's trying to look at appropriate foods and the timing of that. You'd realize many times people don't have routine schedules. They skip breakfast, they eat on the run, they have fast food, they have busy lives, and then they're not necessarily thinking about or planning ahead for what's good for them.
Okay. And can you tell us a little bit about gestational diabetes? I know that can be an issue, especially for people who may usually be healthy and never thought they'd have to worry about that.
Well, gestational diabetes is diabetes during pregnancy. Women are tested at a certain time of their pregnancy with what they call an oral glucose tolerance test, where they're giving oral glucose to see a rise in their blood sugars, and there's certain blood sugar ranges that we're looking for. And it's just the body is needing more insulin during that pregnancy. But our goal is that to prevent the mom from gaining too much weight, and also for the baby not getting too large during her pregnancy. The first line of defense when we do talk with women that are pregnant and have gestational diabetes is nutrition. And so getting them to have healthier habits, eating smaller portions, and eating more often is usually the key for their success.
Is that what causes gestational diabetes? Is it bad eating habits? I know pregnant women get many cravings, or is it something that's genetic? What causes it?
Well, it's during the pregnancy is the pancreas cannot keep up with the glucose load of food, and so it's just the challenge of our body needing more insulin during that time. The concern that we have is after the mother delivers, typically the blood sugars come back to normal, but they're at risk for type 2 diabetes within 10 to 15 years after their pregnancy if they don't go back to their pre-pregnancy weight.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for being here and giving us all these facts about diabetes and nutrition and just getting healthy. I really appreciate it. Our next guest is Chef Avery Crosby, the chef at St. Tammany Parish Hospital.
Now that St. Tammany Parish Hospital and Ochsner are working together, advanced pediatric specialists can treat your child's most complex conditions close to home, giving you the peace of mind that comes with knowing your kids are in good hands.
Welcome back to Healthy Living, brought to you by St. Tammany Parish Hospital. Our next guest is Chef Avery Crosby, the chef at St. Tammany Parish Hospital. Chef Avery is always looking for new ways to improve nutrition and health for our patients and our community. He grows his own herb garden to improve the nutrition and make sure we have fresh ingredients for all of our patients. And recently, he and the staff at St. Tammany Parish Hospital Food Services have added a few Eat Fit North Shore items to their menu to continuously improve the nutrition for our community. Welcome, Chef Avery.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So what are some good ideas for starting diets in the new year and just in general?
That's hard. Because, when you start a new diet, it's always all these different things that come, in all at once. What have I done so far that didn't work? What did work? So you want to start with forgiveness, You didn't get there overnight. I didn't end up like this when I woke up this morning. So you want to just forgive yourself for what you did and start fresh and make plans. Every time you have a new meal, it's a new chance to have something that's better for you, more nutritional for you. So plan your meals ahead. And once you plan your meals, then look at the recipes and look at the ingredients you want to incorporate. If you're looking for adding more vegetables and fruits and things, plan to do that. Purchase them, have them readily available, and then look for recipes that meet your budget, that meet your taste guidelines, and that we don't have time to prepare it. So make sure that's something that you have time to prepare. So start for success. You want to plan for success, basically.
Okay. I know a difficulty that many people have is eating salad, myself included. It's not something that everyone goes like, ooh, I really want a salad. So what are some suggestions you have for eating more salads?
Make them fun. Make an entree salad or a snack salad. So get your greens, and you can get all these different types of greens that are available now. They have baby greens, and some are sweeter than others, and some have a little more crisp to them, and they're different, beautiful colors. Put some nuts in it if you like that, or put some of those dried cranberries that my wife loves so much. But if you're doing an entree salad, whatever you have laying in the fridge, the little parts and pieces, and then put like 4 ounces of protein in it so you have a little protein background. But the most important part of the salad isn't just all those little bits and parts. The most important salad is where you get your dressing. The dressing is what kind of makes your salad, but the dressing is also, it could be a major deficit as far as nutrition goes. If you buy a dressing, a ranch dressing or something like that, you're looking at 600 or so milligrams of sodium for 1.5 ounces. That's 3 tablespoons. And that's not enough to really wet a whole salad for 3 tablespoons. So you're going to put, 3 ounces or so in your dressing, just like the rest of us do, because we're human beings and you can't just eat that small amount. So you're looking at 1,200 milligrams of sodium just to start, which is over half what you need for the whole day. So when you play with dressings, make something yourself. Get one of those little bullet blenders, those little stick immersion blenders that people have that everybody got for Christmas. That's sitting there in the cabinet. Take that out and you put a little fruit juice. Put like a quarter cup of fruit juice and a quarter cup of vinegar and 2/3 of a cup of oil and a little Italian seasoning. Or take a piece of apple and blend that up in there, or a piece of put some pomegranate juice in there. Make it fun. You can even do a peanut butter dressing, so it's got a little bit of protein in it, and some of the oil that you're using for your dressing is an oil and vinegar, and little touches low sodium soy sauce, and it's fantastic.
Wow. Okay. What is the proximity rule for munchies and snacks?
Proximity rule. That's a kind of a weird thing. So when you go to your friend's house, or you're hanging out watching the game, or you're just kind of hanging over the food and stuff like that at a party, that you're in close proximity to whatever snacks are available. So if I go to my buddy's house, my brother's house, and we've got all the chips and dips sitting on the table right in front of us while we're watching the ball game, I'm going to sit and I'm going to eat as I'm watching the ball game, and I'm not really watching what I'm eating, and I'm going to eat what's available to me. So you want to try to make sure you have kind of healthy snacks that are there as opposed to just chips and dips. The USDA did a survey. We eat for an hour a day sitting down properly, is just a general American person, an hour a day. And then we eat for an hour and a half a day while we're doing something else, which is kind of crazy. So if you're sitting watching the game, your BMI is actually higher than a person who sits and eats while they're working or driving. So, but if you're just, I guess the way it works is, if you're just watching the television and you're eating for an hour and a half somewhere along the lines, your BMI, your body mass index, gets more and more. So you want to make sure that your proximity of what the healthy stuff is right there where you can reach it, as opposed to the chips and dips.
Okay. Why do you suggest people eat before they go shopping?
That's a cardinal rule for the grocery store. If you go hit the grocery store hungry, you're in for it. Your bill's going to be higher. You're going to buy things you'll probably never cook. You'll buy things that you probably shouldn't be eating in the first place if you're worried about watching your health. And that's what we're talking about, is watching your health. So, if I'm hungry and I hit the grocery store with the kids, I promise you I'm going to have cookies in that basket that more than 2 or 3 types, because this one wants that and I want that and this. So make sure you sate it. Make sure you're kind of full before you go grocery shopping. As far as regular shopping goes, during the holidays we all went on these big sprees where we spent 4 or 6 hours hitting the malls and everything like that, and we didn't really plan to be there for that long, even though we kind of knew we might be. But the best way to do it is trying to plan that you're going to be there for a length of time. That's kind of, I guess, the key to the whole conversation is kind of that planning, making sure that you're setting your parameters for what you're going to do. Bring an ice chest with some snacks, some peanut butter and celery, or make some granola, or pick up some granola. It's just something that's, whole grains kind of fill you up a little bit. So if you get a whole grain granola, or that heavy duty bread that you get, with the seeds and stuff in it, that's not so much flour. It's fairly good for you, has a nutritional value, a protein value, and it kind of fills you up a little bit. And then when you go to the shopping, you don't get on that, kind of,
right.
Oh my gosh, everything has to happen now, and now I'm starving, and I'm going to go hit the fastest food joint that's going to feed me, and that has the least line,
Right.
So just planning ahead to make sure that you do the right thing for yourself.
Okay. Why do you suggest people have conversations about healthy menus when they're planning get-togethers or parties or different things like that?
Well, our family's New Orleans style, so we're typical Louisiana. It's all hot cuisine, and great grandmother's this and grandmother's that, and more fat, more bacon, more butter, more this and
more
everything.
Pasta.
Oh, guaranteed. Pasta salad with the potato salad.
Gotcha.
So, and it's hard. My family's the same way. We have these conversations and we go back and forth and kind of make fun of each other about, oh yeah, well you said this. Well, yeah, I can't help it. I crave that. But to get something healthy in there is it's important. These are the people you love the most, that you want to be around next year when you have the same party. And by having all these unhealthy things, you kind of, when you go to the party and your Uncle Maurice ends up at the ER the next day because we all ate the same heavy-duty foods together, and his heart couldn't take it, or Aunt Marie's diabetes went through the roof. So it's no fun, and I've been there. It's a terrible thing when you taking your family to ED the next day because you had a great party together. So plan in advance, you know. Great, you want to have the Melaton casserole with the oysters and the bacon because it's a wonderful thing to have. Have some root vegetables that are roasted, you know. Have a cabbage dish that's not cooked down in bacon and butter. My sister-in-law made this amazing cabbage dish. It was roasted cabbage and Brussels sprouts and carrots and some other things. It was lightweight dressing on it. It was room temperature, so nobody was fighting for the oven space. You know, it was all, you could set it in advance in room temperature, and it was fine, wonderful to eat. And it actually took some of the amounts of some of the servings out of the green bean casserole because people were eating that. It was kind of amazing, and it became an instant tradition for our family. It was delicious. So, you know, talk about, well, yeah, we have 6 starches. Maybe we should pare it down to 2 or 4. You know, you want to have those conversations with your family because you love them and you want to be around more. So,
Can you tell us a little bit about hidden sodium?
oh, absolutely. It's pick up anything you want in the grocery store, flip it around, read the label, and it says sodium on it, and you can see how much for what. A simple experiment was my children and I were shopping for a pre-made red sauce, a tomato sauce. And the best one we found, I think, was 270 milligrams of sodium per ounce, give or take. Wow. It was pretty rough. And so my children, who are now kind of looking at these things because I'm a mean dad and I kind of make them do that, but they were shopping with me to look at it. And it's hard, you know, when you look into those dressings we were just talking about, and you flip the container around, and it has, you know, one serving of dressing has as much nutritional value as a Wendy's burger, you know, as far as the fat and the sodium. That's a scary thought that you're putting that on the green salad that's going to make you healthy, you know. And then all those prepared foods that you're looking to you know, to save time with. It usually is a bad equation. If you're buying something that's pre-made and pre-done in a can or in the freezer, they have to use something to hold it when they manufacture it. So they're going to use a sodium, or they're going to use something else that's not so good. So you have to watch the amounts of sodium, especially in prepared foods, you know.
What is an amount of sodium that you're supposed to have a day, give or take?
I mean, we try to, when we do the meals for the patients, we try to stay less than 600 milligrams for a meal, which is kind of tight. 2,000 a day is a fair amount, you know. But when you go to buy a Big Mac or not to kick, you know, McDonald's and Wendy's and get a letter about that. But you know, when you have a hamburger that you go buy at a fast food place that has 1,800 milligrams of sodium for that one burger, you know, you're kind of taxing your body, and it's you know, you're holding water, and it's not great for you. So.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being
My pleasure.
here.
Thank you so much, Amanda.
I'd like to thank Terry Compton and Chef Avery for being our guest today and giving us some tips and tricks about getting healthy and making some lifestyle changes. This has been Healthy Living, brought to you by St. Tammany Parish Hospital. I'm your host, Amanda Paxton, and thanks for joining us.